I shouldn't have stayed that late, but something about the way she said my name made it impossible to leave. I was just supposed to fix the back patio light. That's what my cousin texted me the day before. All casual, like he wasn't asking me to step into the heart of something unraveling. He'd been busy, work, meetings, always away. But she was always home, always there. Lena, his wife. She opened the door wearing a soft navy sweater that clung to her just enough to make me nervous. No makeup, barefoot. She looked older than me, obviously, but not in a way that mattered. Not in a way that made it easier to look away. "God, you've grown up," she said, half laughing, tilting her head like she didn't mean it to land the way it did. I didn't know how to respond. I just followed her in like an idiot, holding my toolbox tighter than I needed to. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that tells you something used to live there, but doesn't anymore. "You still in school?" she asked over her shoulder, walking toward the patio. Her voice carried something beneath the words. Not quite sadness, not quite curiosity. Couldn't place it. "Graduated," I said, still figuring things out. She smiled at that but didn't turn around. The light was a quick fix. Loose wiring. I could have finished in 15 minutes. But I didn't. I slowed down, asked unnecessary questions. She stayed nearby, sitting on the patio couch with a glass of something clear, vodka maybe, or just cold water pretending to be something else. "You know," she said after a long silence, "he doesn't touch me anymore." I froze. She hadn't even looked at me, just stared out toward the yard like it wasn't a big deal. Like she was commenting on the weather or a broken fence. My throat went dry. I checked the wires again even though I knew they were already set. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be," she said quickly. "It's not your fault." Another long pause. I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I didn't know what she wanted me to say. I didn't even know what I wanted to say. "You're not uncomfortable, are you?" she asked, finally turning her head toward me. Her eyes weren't playful. They were searching. I shook my head. "No, just surprised." She laughed once. Quiet. "That makes two of us." The air shifted after that, like we were both aware of something we couldn't say out loud. I packed up my tools slowly, dragging every second. As I stood to leave, she followed me to the door. "You've got strong hands," she said, almost to herself. I looked at her. She looked right back. "I notice things," she added softer. I nodded, even though I didn't understand what was happening. She stepped closer, not enough to break any rules, just enough to blur the edges of them. "Thanks for fixing the light," she said, but her voice had changed. Lower, slower. "No problem," I murmured. I reached for the door, and then her hand brushed mine. Just barely, but enough. Enough to freeze time for a moment too long. She looked up at me, eyes locked. And then she said, like a secret, "You don't have to rush off." I should have walked out, just turned the knob, said goodbye, and let the door close behind me like any decent man would. But I didn't, because she said it like she needed something, not sex, not even company, exactly. Just not to be left alone again. Not tonight. I stood there with my hand on the doorknob, her words hanging between us. "You don't have to rush off." She noticed the hesitation in my shoulders, I think. And instead of pulling away, she did the opposite. She moved to the kitchen and poured another glass of water, then one for me. "I talk too much when I've had a long day," she said over her shoulder. "Sorry." "You don't," I said too fast. She glanced back, just for a second. A flicker of something softer crossed her face, something close to disbelief. I sat at the edge of the couch again while she leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, sipping slowly. Her sweater slipped slightly off one shoulder. I don't think she noticed, or maybe she did. "This house always feels empty when your cousin's gone," she said. "Like everything echoes more than it should." I swallowed. My throat felt tight. I wasn't supposed to be here for this. I was the guy who helped with bad wiring, Not late-night confessions from a woman I'd secretly watched at family barbecues, wondering how someone could carry that much calm and intensity in one body. "You two okay?" I asked, instantly regretting it. She looked at me, really looked. Then she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "People get used to living with silence," she said. "Sometimes, they even start preferring it." She walked over and handed me the glass of water. Her fingers brushed mine again. Warm this time. Steady. "Sorry," she said again, almost a whisper. "I shouldn't be saying any of this to you." "It's okay," I said quietly. "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." "You're not." And then I did it. I looked at her mouth when I said that, just for a second too long. She noticed, and she didn't look away. I felt something shift in my chest. Not lust. Not anymore. Something harder to name. Like I'd wandered into a place I shouldn't see, but now couldn't unsee. Her voice broke the silence. "You were always the quiet one," she said. "But not in a weak way. Just watchful." I didn't know what to say to that. I think I smiled. Maybe half of one. She sat beside me on the couch. Close but not touching. Her knee brushed mine lightly. The kind of contact you could explain away, but didn't want to. I could feel her breath when she turned her head. "Would it be weird if I asked you to stay a little longer?" she asked. A long pause. My heart stammered. I didn't answer, but I didn't get up either. The silence between us was too still. Not peaceful, weighted. Like the room itself was holding its breath. Lena sat close, her knees angled slightly toward mine. Her eyes weren't teasing anymore. They were open in a way that made me want to protect her and run from her at the same time. "I wasn't always like this," she said suddenly, almost like she was admitting a crime. "I used to be different, louder, braver." I turned toward her slowly. "What changed?" She let out a breath. Not quite a sigh. "I got really good at not needing anything. Or anyone." I watched her hand resting near her knee. The way her fingers twisted the edge of her sweater. Nervous. Like something in her was unraveling too. And then it happened. She reached out and gently fixed the collar of my shirt, brushing her thumb along the base of my neck. My breath caught. It wasn't overt. It wasn't seductive. But it was personal, soft, and mothering in a way that didn't match the heat building between us. Maybe that's what made it so confusing. So dangerous. "You always look like you're holding something in," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "What is it?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came. Because if I told her the truth, that I'd thought about her when I shouldn't have, dreamed about her voice, remembered the way she once hugged me a little too long after a family dinner, it would all fall apart. So I said nothing, and she smiled like she already knew. Just then, buzz. Her phone lit up on the table. A call. Her husband's name on the screen. I looked at it. So did she. Neither of us moved. She didn't reach for it. Didn't break eye contact. It rang 3 times. Then 4. Then stopped. I felt the pull in my chest. Some mixture of guilt and hunger and confusion that I couldn't sort fast enough. "I should go," I said, standing abruptly. She stood too. "You could. Or you could stay another 10 minutes. Her voice was steady now, but her eyes betrayed her. She was scared. Not of me, of herself. "I don't think I should be here," I added, my hand already on the strap of my bag. "No," she agreed quietly, stepping closer. "You probably shouldn't." We were standing close again. Too close. That invisible line we'd been pretending not to see was now drawn clear and thin between us. I turned, but before I could move, she touched my wrist. Light, gentle, like she was giving me time to stop her. "I won't ask again," she said. "But I don't want to be alone tonight." She wasn't playing games. She wasn't even asking for anything specific. But her voice broke slightly on that last word. Tonight. And it did something to me I couldn't undo. My hand didn't move. Neither did hers. She didn't let go of my wrist. Not right away. She just held it there. eyes searching mine like she was asking a question without saying it out loud. Are you here for me? Or just stuck in this moment with me? I couldn't answer. My breath was shallow, and the air between us felt too hot, too close. I wasn't trying to make this happen, she whispered. I nodded, barely. Neither was I, but neither of us moved. I feel like I've been disappearing for years, she said, voice cracking for the first time. I needed someone to see me again. I didn't mean to say it, but the words slipped out like they'd been waiting. I've seen you for a long time. She flinched, just slightly, like she wasn't ready to hear that. You're his cousin, she said, as if reminding herself. You're just a kid. I'm not, I said, quiet, firm. Her eyes flicked down to my mouth, then back up again. You don't know what this would cost. I don't care. She closed her eyes at that, just for a moment. Her hand finally dropped from my wrist, but it felt like something else had taken its place. A weight, a decision, a heartbeat too loud in both our ears. Then she took a shaky breath. Do you want me? It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't lust. It was raw, almost pained. I think about you all the time, I said. Even when I hate myself for it. She stepped back one slow motion. Like if she didn't, she'd fall forward instead. I haven't been touched, really touched, in over a year, she admitted. Not kissed. Not even held. I swallowed hard. That's not how it's supposed to be. No, she said. But it's how it is. The room spun around that silence. We stood there like strangers at the edge of something unforgivable, but neither of us could retreat. She walked to the window, rested her hands on the frame. Her voice was quiet, facing away. Do you think this is just loneliness talking? Or something else? I don't know, I said, but I know it doesn't feel fake. She turned slowly. Then say it. Just once. So I know I didn't imagine it. My chest tightened. I want you, I said. She stared at me. Eyes glossy, breath uneven, mouth slightly parted. Neither of us moved. Not yet. Then she asked it. The question I didn't see coming. Would you still want me in the morning? Would you still want me in the morning? The question lingered in the room like smoke. Impossible to ignore, impossible to answer lightly. Before I could speak, there was a knock. 3 quiet taps. Not loud, not rushed, just enough to make her go still. She looked at me, eyes wide. Not in fear, but something close. Guilt? Panic? Maybe both. She stepped toward the door like she wasn't really there. Her body moving on instinct while her mind stayed rooted beside me. I watched her silhouette disappear into the hallway. My pulse thudded in my ears. Then a voice. Familiar. Too familiar. Hey, sorry. I forgot my laptop charger. Didn't think you'd be awake. My cousin. Back early. The sound of his voice made my stomach turn. Not from shame, but from how normal he sounded. Like the walls weren't crumbling inside his own home. Lena's voice was calm. Too calm. It's in the office, I think. I could hear her walking, the creak of floorboards, the forced lightness in her tone. And I could hear his laugh, casual and oblivious. I stepped backward from the living room. Every inch felt like it burned. Then I saw it, the photograph on the hallway table. One I hadn't noticed before. Me, Lena, and him. From 2 summers ago. The beach trip. He'd taken it. She was looking at me, not the camera. Smiling. My throat tightened. Had it already started back then? Had she known? When she came back, her face was pale, but her voice was still level. He's just picking something up, she said. He won't stay. I should go, I muttered, already grabbing my bag. No, she said quickly, stepping in front of me. Wait. I stopped. Barely. She looked like she wanted to say something else, but her mouth trembled, and she pressed her lips together instead. What is this to you? I asked. Because I can't tell anymore. I can't tell if you want me, or if I'm just a place to bury the things he stopped giving you. She blinked. The pain on her face was real, sharp. Do you remember that trip? 2 years ago? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. I watched you carry your cousin's drunk body back to the cabin. You barely said a word. But you did it like it was nothing. She stepped closer, voice low. That's when it started for me. The way you moved. The way you stayed kind even when no one was looking. That's when I stopped seeing you as a kid. I couldn't speak. I wanted to forget it. I told myself it would pass. She whispered. But it didn't. We stood there, in the middle of the house that didn't belong to either of us, with a man in the next room who had no idea. Then she said it. I think I was already yours before I even admitted it to myself, and I didn't know whether to kiss her or run. I think I was already yours before I even admitted it to myself. Lena stood in front of me, arms loose at her sides, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to reach for me or let me go. I didn't speak right away, because I didn't know if I could believe it, or worse, what believing it would make me. He trusts me, I finally said. My voice cracked on the word trusts. I know. I grew up with him. I know that too. She took a step closer, but it wasn't seductive. It was tired, like the years had finally landed on her all at once. I'm not proud of what this is, she said. But don't you dare think it's not real. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't blink them away. You think I wanted to feel this way? She whispered. About you? I tried to kill it every way I knew how. But it's still here, right now, in this room. I don't know what to do with it, I said. With us. Then don't do anything, she said. Just feel it. Her hands touched my face gently. Not to seduce, but to steady me. You don't have to fix it, she added. You always try to fix things. That's not why I want you. I closed my eyes. Her hands were warm, her breath just inches from mine. But I still hadn't kissed her. Not once. Not because I didn't want to, but because part of me was still clinging to some last thread of who I was before this night. What happens if he finds out? I asked. She didn't flinch. Then I faced the consequences. Not you. My eyes opened. She meant it. All of it. Every breath, every word. Stripped of charm, of excuses, of safety. She wasn't hiding anymore. Not from me. Not from herself. I don't want to be a secret, I said finally. I won't survive being something you regret. Lena nodded. Slowly. Then we don't lie about it. I looked at her. Really looked. And realized something terrifying and beautiful at once. She was worth the mess. The fallout. The risk. And maybe I was worth being chosen for once. I don't know where this ends, I said. I don't either, she whispered. But I don't want to wake up tomorrow pretending it never happened. We stood in the doorway, heartbeats crashing against the walls, the weight of everything unsaid finally falling away. And I reached for her, not like a boy chasing a fantasy, but like a man who had finally stopped running from the truth. We kissed, finally, and it was slow, honest. No fireworks, just warmth. Familiar and breaking and right. And when she pulled away, her eyes were wet again. But she smiled and whispered, So, you're staying? I nodded. No words this time. Just my hand slipping into hers like it had always belonged there. We didn't sleep that night. Not because of guilt. Not because of what we'd done. But because for the first time in years, Lena said she didn't feel alone. And I didn't feel invisible. We talked in whispers, about everything and nothing, about the time she first met my cousin and thought she'd found her forever, and the years that followed, when forever started to feel like a sentence instead of a promise, about how I always used to stay quiet at family dinners, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I was always watching her. I thought you were shy, she said. I was just trying not to want what I couldn't have, I answered. The sun rose slowly through the blinds, casting soft lines of gold across the living room floor, The same room that had once felt like a stranger's house. Now it felt different, because something between us had finally been named. By morning he was gone again, back to the office just like always. She told him I came over to fix the light and stayed to talk. That much was true. What she didn't say was that we'd both fixed more than a faulty wire, that we'd crossed a line that night, and neither of us wanted to go back. 3 weeks later, she left him. No yelling, no scandal, just a quiet conversation and a key left on the kitchen counter. People asked questions. Of course they did. Whispers circled through the family like smoke. About betrayal, about timing, about what really happened. But no one ever asked me directly, and she never looked back. We didn't rush into anything public. We didn't need to. There was a strange kind of peace in not hiding anymore, even if the world didn't approve. Especially because the world didn't approve. One night, sitting outside her new place, a smaller apartment, but hers, Lena turned to me and asked, "Do you think this started as a mistake?" I looked at her for a long time. "No," I said. "I think it started as a need." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Then what is it now?" I laced my fingers through hers. "Now?" I smiled. "Now it's just real. We weren't perfect. There were awkward conversations, long silences, days where we didn't know how to be anything other than messy humans trying to find our footing in something that shouldn't have happened, but did. But we kept showing up. For each other. Every single day. And in the end, that's what love is. Not the beginning. Not the rush. But the decision to stay when it would have been easier to walk away.